Hi guys, real life Peter Griffin here. I've been watching this hilarious podcast on YouTube called the Ego's Last Stand. If you love stand-up comedy, you will love what Josh and Brandy are doing. Something funny. I'm the real life Peter Griffin, and you're watching the Ego's Last Stand.
When I come around, got the whole thing wobbling.
And we're back for another episode of The Ego's Last Stand. I'm Josh Sardam. This is the Quarantine Chronicles. And today we have the fantastic, fresh off the block of AGT, Ryan Niemiller. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, Josh. How are you, my friend?
Fantastic. Last time I saw you, you were running around with Donnie Baker last year. And what was great about that meeting is, we got to hang out for a little bit and talk, and we took some pictures. And one of the comments I remember last year that made me laugh is because the America's Got Talent thing, it was just getting ready to come out. Nobody had seen it yet. And we were like, okay, well, right now we're friends, but as soon as this AGT thing goes off, we don't know each other anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. Fortunately for you, I'm a liar, so I couldn't step through it. So. Yeah, man, that was like a weird time because, like, I think when I was there, like, I knew how well the first couple rounds of AGT had went, but I couldn't talk about them yet.
Right.
So it was kind of like this weird, like limbo I was in where, like, I knew my life was about to change in a huge way, but I wasn't getting any of the tangible benefits from it yet.
Sure.
So that's why I was slumming around with people like you.
Yeah, so. Who can blame me? Who can blame me? Yeah, fantastic job on AGT, brother. We were all pulling for you. All of us that know you, we're all pulling for you. It was fantastic. Speaking of which, Nyla Durrani says hello.
Oh, hi, Nyla. I should shoot her a text before she has that baby.
She's almost there. It's almost baby time. Little Brooklyn will be here soon. Yeah, so just fantastic things going on. Of course, the coronavirus caused a humongous break with everything that was. I mean, you had some serious momentum going on.
Yeah, it's postponed the next time that I get to ignore you in person. I was actually supposed to be down at Comedy Off Broadway, I think in April. I think it was I think it was supposed to be like 3 weeks ago at this point. But yeah, I think it got moved to October if I'm remembering correctly. So we'll make it happen. But yeah, it was just a little while because, obviously at the time I didn't know how long this was going to be going on. So when the first couple weeks of the quarantine hit, I was like, this is great. I can sleep. This is, because I had been going hard. So, since AGT ended in September, the show ended on a Wednesday. I flew home Thursday, and then I was pretty much on the road Friday up until everything shut down and there was no more road, so I've been trying to make the best of this time. It, like you said, it does suck that some momentum feels halted, but the good thing is, everyone's momentum's halted, and once we can get back out there safely, people are going to be pumped to still see, me and everyone else, because they're just going to be excited to see people, really.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, you're not going to have any issue getting back out. Jordan will book you back Comedy Off Broadway, and you'll be all over the place once again. Speaking of this coronavirus thing, so how you been faring? You got any horror stories about things you've seen, or?
Some cheery already. We're like, 4 minutes in? You're like, have you seen anyone die in front of you? That is some hard-hitting journalism right there, Josh. Well done. For me personally, it's been a little up and down. I'm someone who I'm pretty open with kind of past struggles and current struggles I've had with like mental health things, and this is really kind of trying for that. Some days I feel great. I'm energized. I'm being productive. I'm working on my one-man show, and I'm working on my future podcast plans, and I'm working on all these projects and getting, writing new material. And then some days, literally, it's a win if I put on different pants than I was wearing yesterday. So it's like, and the thing that I think is important, and that I try to tell people, and I had to tell myself, is both of those are okay. Like if you feel like your way of handling this is just to be productive and just crush, working on creative projects and you know, cleaning your house and everything like that, great. If you need to take some days where you literally just curl up and barely leave your bed, that's okay too, because we're all doing what we can to get through this.
Yeah, I mean, it's unprecedented. Nothing like this has ever happened. So, I mean, coping with it the only way you can is, it's probably the healthiest way you can do it. Your body's telling you something for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I just got to distract myself. I'm finally playing a lot of the video games that I've been buying over the last couple years and haven't had time to play. So
Sure.
it's been nice to sit and nerd out that way. I'm making a move soon. I'm moving to California in a couple weeks.
Nice.
It was going to be end of this year, but it's one of those situations where, hey, when am I going to have this kind of time, you know, to move?
Yeah.
So a little nervous about the trip, but I'll just stay in the car and make it happen. But deciding to do it now, so I've been packing and doing all that. And so I'm keeping myself busy. I'm doing some online shows. They're weird.
They are.
I enjoy them for what they are.
Yeah.
So people have been asking me, like, well, how are these, like, Zoom shows? And my buddy Dave Yates, who I don't know. Do you know Dave?
I do.
Yeah, so he came up with the best, I think, analogy for this I've heard so far. Because Dave is pretty, it's well known that he's sober. You know, he was a, alcoholic in the past. He's been sober for like 7-8 years. And he's kind of described doing these like Zoom online shows as, I love doing these online shows. They're great. But when I was a pothead, I used to also like to smoke the resin. So you kind of just deal with what you have, I'm having fun with them. A lot of people are doing a great job to sort of show like, hey, you can hear some audience participation and they've done some cool production with it. And they're fun for what they are, but I am itching to get back in front of real people safely, but I want to be, it's just not the same energy.
You and me both, my friend. It's just, and we need that energy. We need that pushback.
Yeah. I did a corporate on Zoom last Friday, which was I don't want to get too inside baseball on people, but like corporates in general can be a rough gig to begin with.
Sure. Because
you're kind of brought in, you're the entertainment for something else. So it's like a company meeting or like their award ceremony or something weird. And then they kind of shoehorn in with really no fanfare, no setup or anything. Hey, while everyone's eating their chicken, you want to go tell an hour of jokes? Be squeaky clean. like they're weird. They pay well. That's why you do them.
Right.
But they're not exactly, under normal circumstances, they're not exactly the most fulfilling creative thing in the world. But I did one on Zoom or just kind of online and dead silence because like I guess the way they were setting it up, they could either mute everybody or mute nobody. Like that was kind of the issue, so they couldn't have select. And I don't think I was going to get heckled, but everyone's working at home. Who knows how many screaming kids are going to be in the background or just whatever else. How many naked husbands are just going to walk by and stuff like that. So it was just dead silent, and I had to sit here for 45 minutes and just tell my stories. And I got through it. I got kind of into the zone as it went. But, man, I never thought I would have a gig where in the middle of it I was like, man, I wish I could watch them just eating chicken and ignoring me right now. That would be so much better.
Oh, yeah. Bring it out. So let's talk about AGT a little bit.
Sure.
So when you first, did you go for an audition on your own or did somebody tell you needed to go? Or
it was a 5-year process for me. So I had done a combination like in the past years of kind of just showing up and doing an audition, kind of the cattle call, wait in the line, do the thing. 1 year I had one of those kind of front of the line passes where someone kind of recommends you. So you're not a scheduled audition, but like, oh, hey, you're someone recommended, so going through. I did that a couple years. And I guess I found this out afterwards. I kept getting closer, but they don't really tell you that. Like they don't like they get so many. I think my season they told me it was like 70 to 75,000 auditions,
Yeah.
one way or another. They're not telling all the people individually, no, and here's why you didn't, get it. You just don't hear back, and it's just what it is.
Sure.
So the fifth year that I tried, I kind of reached back out to the people I knew, and I was like, hey, I would love to try this again. And what's different this time is in between last year and this year, I had a video go viral. So like in between those 2 years, I had a video on Comedy Juice on Facebook, and it did like 1.6 million views. Not the most viral thing in the world, but that's a pretty good chunk for people to see your stuff.
Yeah.
And what helped me with that video, because I showed it to them, and the video was from my taping I did back in 2014 for a show that was called Laughs. It was a syndicated show on Fox that Steve Hofstetter produced, and he runs Comedy Juice. So it was one of those things he kind of asked, like, hey, we have this video. Do you care if we put it up there? It was great. Put it out there. It did well virally. And why it was interesting for AGT to look at it is because since that was a show that was done for a TV taping, it had TV taping energy.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And what I would tell any comic who wants to try to audition for AGT, you need to give them an audition tape or do an audition as if you're on television. And it's going to feel weird because a normal comedy show, it works because you're kind of having this dialogue with the audience based on the energy they're giving you.
Sure.
If you're in a dive bar, you don't do that show like it's a corporate or like it's television or like it's a college. Like every crowd has its own energy. And that was the thing I had to kind of learn with AGT is, I know comedy, they know television. They don't have the time, or they don't care in the same sense like, oh, well, this is how the art of comedy works. They're trying to do a TV show. So you need to give them a TV product. And giving them that video kind of cemented that in my head because I was going to do those live auditions at the sites and playing them like the situation was. You're in these big rooms. You're maybe in there with one or two other acts that get to audition at the same time. And then it's one producer and a cameraman. That's not television. And so your instinct is to, I'm going to play up how weird this is. They don't want that. They want to see how it looks on television.
Sure.
So they saw that video, they loved it, and I got it. So my fifth try was actually a video audition, and they loved it, and they said yes.
Nice. That's pretty badass. And so you started doing the tapings and whatnot, like, the first couple episodes, like last time we saw each other, you already had so many that you had already done. It was all the way up until, I think, the live shows, you said?
Yes. So the normal, I don't know how they're going to do it this year because I know they're doing some like kind of quarantine tapings and some interesting stuff. But for my season, where it was the first two rounds, so the initial audition and the judge cuts are pre-taped. The last three are live.
Gotcha. And so let's talk about the real dirt. Are they feeding you guys? Like, are they feeding you?
Yes, yeah, you get a little stipend, and there's always snacks. They have really good crafty table back there. It's very nice. They were always It was always hard to sometimes get the good stuff though, because it would depend on when you were called. Because like acts are brought in like during the week at different times because everyone has to tape their video packages and all that kind of stuff, and the musicians have to do their auditions, and then. Even as the comedian, like after I would get my sets approved, I would then have to do a dry run of that in front of them just so they can kind of see what it's going to look like, all this kind of stuff. And my particular season had a lot of big groups, had like really big groups. Like Detroit Youth Choir was like 60 strong, plus their chaperones and everything else. The Unbeatable, I think, was 29. Kids with their chaperones and managers and stuff. So there's all these people just running around, and so you're lucky if you would get like the good snacks because a lot of them were kids, and the kids were like, "Sweet, free food! This is awesome!" So they're just shoving as much in their faces as they could. So they had good stuff. I didn't get it all the time.
I was so hoping you were going to say, "Yeah, Simon Cowell is the biggest pig. He would like arm you away." Like, no.
I'm sure they're like. That's cute that you think that we get to share the same craft table with Simon. I'm sure he had his own spread. They all had their own. They probably had like goose and filet mignon and goose.
You British snob. What's some of the best memories you have from that?
Is it cheating just to say the actual performances? I think that's obviously one of them. It's so
fantastic.
What's that?
You did fantastic.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a little surreal to kind of look back and realize how well that run went. Because like I didn't have any false thought in my head that I was going to win. It's just the nature of the show. It's going to be really hard for a comedian to ever win that show.
Sure.
And plus, this will sound like sour grapes, but I promise you, it's not. No one was beating Cody Lee. It wasn't even a competition. The first note that came out of his mouth, even the contestants, we were like, well, all right. Can we try this next year? Can we come around in 2020? But like just kind of knowing like all the pressure of, my goal was to make the finals. As a comedian, if you make the finals, you become a draw on the road. Like that's one of those things that you don't have to win. Winning would have been amazing. I'm not going to say it wouldn't have been, but
sure.
Making the finals and getting third place, that brings people to comedy clubs. So I knew how much that would help my career. And I've been doing this a decently long time. I was 12 years in at that point. So it's not like, and I'm a road dog. Right. I have a reputation for, driving 10 hours and sleeping in my car and like doing all this stuff to just pay the bills and hopefully get that chance. Yeah. So to finally show up and kind of have this pressure of like, man, I've done well before. I mean, I've killed. I'm a good comic, but like in those circumstances, you need those 4 people sitting there to like you. Yeah. The audience is great, but those 4 people are the ones. So just having all that pressure to like, no, I have to crush. Because normally when I do a show, I don't think it's healthy as a comic to kind of go in like, oh, I gotta crush. No, you go in and you do the show and see where it goes. You have the confidence that it's going to work. And then you kind of, for this, I was like, no, I have to crush. There's no other way I can get around this. And then just kind of being in Pasadena in that Civic Center for that first audition and kind of going out there and you can kind of hear it in my voice a little bit when you watch the clip. Like I'm nervous at first when I'm kind of like introing myself. But then when I got my first joke to work, even before my set, so like Simon Cowell asked me like, what's the, give me the summary of your life. And I said something along the lines of like, oh yeah, well, as you can probably tell, I have a pretty noticeable disability. I think the technical term for it is being very handsome. And then when that got a good laugh from the crowd, I was like, oh, it's go time. Now it's, then it was just a show. Yeah. And then, seeing the, just getting I got 3 standing ovations during the set. They edit those out a little bit to kind of make it look like it's it ends up making the thing a lot longer than it should have been. Good problem to have. And just kind of feeling that like moment, like I had friends there. My mom got to come out for that, which was very cool. Awesome. And just kind of like knowing in that moment, I was like, oh, okay, my life just changed in a huge way. Right. It was super cool. And then like, it just kept going. Like every set, as I got kind of more comfortable and more confident in what was happening, like it just kind of started snowballing. And it's just an amazing, cool thing that like no one really gets to do. And I'm very thankful I got the chance.
Yeah, that's dude, historic to say the least. Amazing show. What's really badass about you getting that far is there are a lot of comedians that like they'll hit it, they'll do really well because they got that strong 5 minutes, and they go out there and they kill those 5 minutes, and then they like Last Comic Standing was a good example of this. Is they win or they get really close, and all these clubs are booking them to headline, and they're like, great, now I got to come up with 40 minutes worth of stuff. Yep. But you're well accomplished. You have plenty of material. So I mean that's really not an issue for you at all.
Yeah. It's one of those things that like it's clearly a hindsight says this type of thing. I'm glad I didn't get the show the first time I tried, because I wasn't a strong enough comic to. I was strong enough to have a good run on the show. You're doing 2 to 3 minute sets, like people can fluke their way through that a little bit. You know, you can kind of hide some of your flaws in that format. But once you get on the road, you got to be a headliner.
Yeah.
And I was ready to go. Like, I don't know him super well, so I don't want this to sound like I'm talking smack, because I mean it with all due respect, because he's a crusher now. But I had heard Drew Lynch had that problem.
He did.
And at the beginning, because he was pretty young into comedy. Yeah. I was gonna say he was maybe 2, 3, at most 4 years into comedy when he had his run to runner up, and I heard for a while his headlining sets were rough because he had a really strong 20 minutes.
Right.
You got to do 45.
Right.
Yeah, but to his credit, he busted his ass.
He did.
And he got himself to be really strong. And now he's the only one of us really who doesn't have to talk about AGT. He has such a big YouTube following and like all of that. Him being on AGT is a footnote for what he's done. So
yeah,
you know, he did the work, but not everyone can do that. You know, sometimes you can crumble because that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and a lot of them have. But about Drew Lynch, and I mean this with my entire heart, he's really short.
He's a tiny guy, but
yeah, we took a picture together, and I was just like, Jesus, like father and son day. Look at this. I love the guy though; he's really nice.
Yeah, and super funny guy.
Yeah.
And that's another cool thing too, because like we've only kind of talked a little bit after AGT, you know, because of that experience, and you know, kind of with a lot of the other AGT comics, like some of them I knew personally, some I don't, but they were very supportive. Like Team Comedy, we want one of us to win.
Oh, absolutely.
So you know, it's very supportive. So like, I've never met Preacher Lawson in person, for instance, but he would, you know, try to get people to vote for me, and like, you know, that's like we became buddies. You know, Drew helped me. Samuel J. Comroe's a really good friend of mine. Like, and you know, just for him to kind of have the year before me get fourth, I got third. You know, he was a huge resource for me during the show, just because it was nice to have someone that you trusted, that you could kind of be like, hey, is this normal? Is this how this is supposed to happen? Sure. You know, Taylor Williamson, who had a really good run a few years ago, I've known him for probably a decade, you know, so he was very helpful and kind of helped me out. So it was very cool to have like just those people in my corner, and then also just other comics, even, you know, not from AGT, but like other headliners and stuff. It was really important to me, and it meant a lot to me that no one was mad that I got the opportunity. Like there was no comics. I mean, because you're a comedian, you get how it works. There are certain people, even if you don't, you know, you don't have anything personal against them, but like you see somebody, you see someone gets like Tonight Show, and you're like, him? Screw that guy. Yeah. You know, and it's just natural reaction. You don't wish them ill per se, but you're like, man, well, I could do better than that. You know. But it was nice that like it seemed like everyone was just excited for me because they knew I put in the time. It wasn't something where I just had a fluke good audition and then had this run and now I'm playing comedian. I put in the work.
I can tell you 100%. Everybody I know, every comic I ever talked about that your name came up, no one has anything negative to say about you. Everybody's nothing but positive about you. Another guy that was real supportive of you was Greg Morton.
Oh, yeah.
Greg was on this show. Matter of fact, his episode comes out next week. He's been on this show 4 times now.
Okay.
Greg is fantastic. You know, he's like probably one of the nicest guys in the business.
Yeah. Greg is probably one of the nicest guys, period.
Yeah.
Like, you know, screw the business, just in general.
No, you're right.
It was very interesting with that because, you know, a lot of people kind of now know Greg from his run on AGT. You know, he's a semifinalist the same season I was. Super funny, but like he's a cult favorite.
Yes.
Of comedy clubs. Like you can ask like any comedy club you work in the country. There's usually 2 comics that get brought up as like the staff's favorite. It's Chad Daniels and Greg Morton. Like those are the 2 that seem to be. You know, he has the nickname Mr. Standing Ovation for a reason.
That's true.
The dude's a killer.
He is.
And so. We obviously knew of each other. We never met until AGT. We just had never crossed paths. I had like this run of like 6 years where I would always be working clubs like 2 weeks after he had been there, a week before he was going to be there. We just never happened to cross paths, and kind of watching him and him do his run and get that shot to, obviously he's a performer. He's just so good, and he couldn't have been a nicer guy. He was so fun to be around, backstage, and because like this is something I'll tell you, and I won't name names because it's not fair. And no one was like negative. I got along with just about everybody backstage, but everyone has a different way that they handle the pressure of this. Sure. Some people are very reserved and very to themselves, and because it's a huge opportunity, and a lot of them were from overseas, so they're thousands of miles away from home in a country they don't understand, and like there's all this pressure, so Greg and I tried to always we tried to keep it light back there, and Greg was just such a positive influence there. He was really great with the kids, like all the kid acts and all that. He's an amazing human being.
Absolutely. Yeah, Greg's he's on my top 5 of someone who I like to nerd out with, because incredibly knowledgeable, knows all kinds of things about every dichotomy you can think of when it comes to nerd fest type stuff.
We spent a ton of time just talking video games. Like that's kind of what we would do with our time,
So you said you're digging back into your video games. Oh, one more thing. Howie Mandel. Did you ever have a conversation with him?
Yes, I got to talk to Howie a lot, and he was really supportive of me. Like he is, he's a legend in comedy, and he's very supportive of the stand-ups on that show. But he doesn't have to, go out of his way if he doesn't want to. Sure. We had some really good conversations there, and even now he's been very supportive. We'll chat every once in a while. Apparently he shouted me out on a couple of national programs and things like that, which is very cool. He doesn't have to do that.
Very cool.
It meant a lot that he thought I was good, because obviously I wanted all the judges to like me, because that's how you try to win that show. That's the deal. But when somebody does what you do, and had he said I sucked, you know what? Maybe I do, because he knows what he's talking about, So it would have been really hard. So to kind of have his support and just to say that legitimately we're friends is kind of a really cool thing.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's absolutely a legend. I mean, the guy owns JFL, for Christ's sakes.
Yep.
Which is the biggest comedy festival in the entire world.
Yep. Yeah, he's legit.
Yeah. Are you gonna try and make any appearances at JFL?
It's something I'd like to do. There's nothing directly in the works at this point. I don't need to really showcase for new faces or anything like that. It's a little different how it is now. Right. I would definitely want to do it, but the way that I'm kind of looking at things right now, and maybe I need to target this a little bit more, I'm so excited to finally be kind of getting treated legit for the first time in my career, that I'm so open to everything. Like for me, I'm pumped I'm getting to headline comedy clubs. A lot of clubs that I was having so much trouble them even giving me showcases to maybe get feature work, were reaching out to me to have me come headline.
That's awesome.
It was a situation, and I say this with love, because I love comedy off Broadway, because it is hard to get into that club.
It's one of the hardest.
That is one of the reasons I like it. So I don't say this to be talking smack about the situation, but I was getting nowhere with Jordan before, because it's a tough thing, and that's why the shows are so damn good. Yeah. Because it's not just anyone can sweet talk their way in and then they get to perform. So to kind of like that was one of those kind of clubs that getting, booked to headline, and the shows haven't happened yet because all this happened. But, just getting, booked to headline that club is okay, I'm making it. It's a cool thing. Exactly.
You've arrived, which is well deserved, my friend. You absolutely need to be at that place. Have you been able to get into Garrett's in Vegas?
Not yet. So I know a lot of people that work there. I haven't got to do anything in Vegas yet. I had talked with Kimmel's. So I got to do the AGT Vegas shows. So the prize that Cody Lee won, getting to headline those shows, I was on those shows as well. I kind of was sort of the de facto, but not really MC for the show. I got to do some sets, and so I got to meet with the booker from Kimmel's. So to talk about that, I'd done LA Comedy Club at the Stratosphere in the past. I'd dropped it in there a couple times. So I would love to do Vegas. It'd be cool. Yeah. It's a weird city. It's a weird city for comedy. Like I like the challenge of it. It's very.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, you get this whole Wayne Newton Elvis type feel when you're there, and you almost feel like you have to go up there and start doing accents, like hi remote or something when you're up there.
Yeah, it is kind of like it messes with your head a little bit because you do feel the first times that you're performing in Vegas like you have to do something different.
Yeah,
you don't really need to. You can still do your act, but like the crazy thing is, like, I found a lot of the shows I've done in Vegas are more like doing bar shows in Iowa. Like, because so many people that are coming to comedy shows, it's not the locals that live in Vegas.
Right.
It's people who are on their gambling trip who are just checking out the So, like, I grew up in a trailer park in Indiana. I'm a hillbilly. So I again say this with love. You're performing for a lot of hillbillies who are on their big Vegas trip.
Yeah.
So like when you kind of realize that, they can be really fun. When I'm like, why am I making this so hard? These are my people. Yeah.
I just lost my ass on the roulette wheel. Make me laugh, fat man.
Basically, yeah. The casino gigs in general are pretty rough because a lot of times you're like, oh, the comedy show's free, and they've already lost all their money, so that's why they're there. So they don't care about your nonsense.
We're gonna go in there and pound drinks all night long.
Exactly.
So you basically want to stay away from things like cruises for now, right?
I mean, in the immediate, yes. Because honestly, like for now, and this is I don't want to get too inside baseball and everything.
I love that you say that.
I know it's a fun phrase. I'm a big baseball fan, so it's I just love the phrase. But honestly, it seems counterintuitive. There's just more money in comedy clubs than there is cruises. It's just that cruises are perfectly fine gigs. Just right now, financially, taking those weeks off to do that instead of a club, I'd be losing money.
Yeah.
So it's something, in the future, would I possibly visit? Absolutely. Sure. I'm open to anything. But right now my goal is to make as much money as possible so I can buy a house. Sure. So that if all this happens to bottom out for some reason, at least I'm even. Right. That's what I'm looking for. First things I did with when I started making money after AGT, paid off my car, paid off my student loan. So I have zero debt. So everything else is bonus right now.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome. That's huge.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it's a crazy thing that my plan to pay off my student loans required me getting third place on the largest talent show in the world. Right. Like, that's the only way I was paying off my theater degree.
That's funny. Well, I tell you what, man, right now for you, I mean, the sky's the limit. I mean, you're definitely on the way to the top, and there's nothing that's going to stop you. You'll make it up there. Dude, where can people go find out like information about Ryan?
So you can find my website, which I need to update the tour because obviously things have gotten weird and things have moved, so I need to get that organized. But I always have my tour dates up at cripplethreat.com. And then as far as social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, OnlyFans, whatever that is, Pornhub, all that good stuff. I'm Cripple Threat 8. So it's the number 8 because there was 7 before me, but I've risen to power. Yeah. So come say hi. I try to be very interactive. At some point, I might have to cool that a little bit, but generally, if you take the time to message me or say hi, I will say hi back. I try to be very supportive because for me, this whole run's been so crazy. I spent 12 years in comedy with no one caring.
Right.
So that now the fact that people are like excited to be my fan, the least I can do is respond to a DM or, you know, take a picture when we're in public or, you know, whatever. Like, if that's the hardest thing I have to do to say thank you, I absolutely will do that. So come say hi, talk video games, talk whatever. I'm pretty low key.
When you're going out in public now, are people recognizing you?
They do. It's weird.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little more used to it. It's still fun because, you know, no one has to care. Like that's the thing I always have to remind myself. Like, no one has to give a solitary damn that I exist. Right. So it's cool. It's been weirder for the people around me. You know, like I think the first time I was out with my sister and someone recognized me, she was like, "What the hell just happened?" Like, because your family doesn't see you as this like star or whatever you want to call it. You know, I'm just, you know, the dumb brother who pisses her off and annoys her to no end.
Right.
You know, my girlfriend's getting better at handling it. Back in January, for her birthday, we went to Disney in Anaheim. And, you know, for me, it was kind of just, I've been on the road after AGT since then. I kind of knew what the deal was. For her, it was very strange because we're just trying to enjoy a pleasant day. And people are just coming up and like, "Oh my God," like making her take pictures and like all this kind of stuff. And she's a very private person. Like, you know, she kind of keeps to herself with it. She's not a performer. She's not a, you know, anything like that. So she's getting better. She had trouble hiding her emotions for a while with that, just like her frustration. And I'm like, no, this is the deal. It's it's fine. Like,
that comes with it.
Exactly. So, but it's cool. Like I'm not gonna lie. As long as people are respectful, and most people are, you know, don't come bother me. Don't take food off my plate when I'm eating. But like, as long as you're cool and you're not like being rude about it, yeah, it's cool. It's a very flattering, neat thing.
Yeah, it definitely and well deserved, my friend.
Thank you.
And I could still say to this day, I remember when we did that show at the American Legion.
Oh God, I'm gonna miss those for a while.
Yeah.
Like in a weird way, it sounds silly because of like, you know, the quote unquote bigger, you know, grander shows I get to do now. But my comedy was built in places like American Legions and Elks Lodges and like, right. You know, in these towns that people couldn't even find on a map if you gave them an hour to look, you know, right. Like those are my people. That's how I built, you know, the strength of my comedy. And just like right now, I don't have to do those shows. I kind of miss it a little bit, you know, like showing up to a show and not knowing if, you know, 10 or 100 people are going to show up and all that. And, you know, that the struggle's nice, but, you know, it builds character, but I'm happy to be doing well. Now it's the kind of the payoff for all that.
You know, and a lot of us are very happy for you, sincerely. I mean, you deserve it, man. You busted your ass for many, many years to get there. So no, enjoy it, swim in it, lap in it. It's fantastic.
I appreciate it. Now I feel bad about how much crap I've been talking about you behind your back. That's oh no, this is.
And anybody who knows you knows you're full of shit right now.
I'm like gaslighting you about what a nice guy I am.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I mean, don't get too flattered. I mean, I literally only doing it because I have nothing but time right now. But still, you're welcome.
You just keep stabbing. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and close this thing out, man. For Ryan Niemiller, I'm Josh Sardam. We'll see you guys next time.
Hey guys, I hope you liked the video, and if you like the show, make sure you throw a like down there somewhere. There should be a like, and there's a subscribe button over here.
And hit the bell.
And hit the bell, yeah, ring the bell. And, you know, check us out, man. Stay in touch with us. We're always putting out videos every week, and it should be a lot of fun, right?
Write us a letter.
Write red as rain, red as the mail. Thanks, guys. That should work.